Welcome to the Ken Meek Show. Today we have an amazing show. We have actor, comedian, some call him white chocolate, Gary Owens.
How's it going?
Nice to meet you.
I feel like we need hand sanitizer.
I know. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great. So you are on tour right now.
I think I'm always on tour. The only time I took a break was when COVID hit. It was like 3-4 months of unemployment.
Wow. How did you get started in comedy, and was that pretty hard for you being a white guy and speaking in front of African American crowd? You
don't choose your audience; they choose you.
Oh, good.
Nobody can go out there and be like, I'm gonna tell jokes to these people or this ethnic group or this religious group. It's like they're gonna come to see you. They're gonna come to see you. That's their choice. But when I started doing stand-up, I was in the Navy, and people say I'm crazy. The whole goal was to do stand-up. So I grew up in a small town, Ohio, in a trailer park, and I was like, I'm just gonna be stuck here if I don't get out. So Navy was a way. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I just know where I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be stuck in the trailer park.
Okay.
So I met with the Army, the Marine guy, the Navy guy, and I ended up going with the Marines. He was the most honest, and honestly, the Army guy, and I've said it in my act, God, he acted like there was nothing wrong with the Army. Like, He was perfect. He said, so I heard you wrestle in your high school wrestling team? I said, yeah. He goes, the Army has a wrestling team. He said, you could try out, and if you make it, you're just going to wrestle the whole time in the Army. I said, dude, I am 3 and 30.
Right.
I'm the worst wrestler in the state of Ohio right now. So I knew I didn't want to join the Army. The Marine guy was like, the few, the proud, and when stuff pops off with the first ones in the fight, I go, I'm good on that.
I'm good.
And the Navy guy, he literally told me, he goes, dude, we're like bulletproof. Because he would explain it to me, like when you go to war, he goes, you're going to be on a ship. And they go, there's nobody dying on ships anymore. There's not hand-to-hand combat. Because we're pressing buttons. And I was like this. Oh, I kind of like that. I want to get away from it. Okay. So I joined in the first 2 years. I was in the honor guard. So I was doing spinning rifles and doing funerals and the parades and stuff. And then I got stationed in San Diego. I went to A school in Lackland Air Force Base. I was a Master at Arms, which is a cop.
Okay.
I got stationed in San Diego pretty much the rest of the time. And I blew out my knee, tore my ACL, which is a blessing in disguise because as I was rehabbing my knee, I'm like 19, 20. At that age, trying to go out and stuff. I couldn't really go out. And I go, well, I'm going to start doing stand-up. So I used to hang out at all the comedy spots in San Diego. And I was literally, I know it sounds cocky, but I was like, I'm better than these guys. I can do this. And then I started getting on stage, and that was it. I actually was active duty Navy and on BET at the same time. I was getting ready to get out. I took a week's leave. I went up and filmed Comic View, came back down. So now I'm on the gate waving cars on the base, like come on in, and I'm on TV.
Star.
So every now and then a brother would drive by and be like, hey man, did I see you on TV last night? I said, yeah man, keep moving. You gotta keep moving.
Yeah. I did the same thing. When I published my books, I was on tour and I was in the Navy.
Yeah?
So I was doing it. I did 21 years in the Navy, so thank you for your service.
Where were you stationed?
Well, my last station place was here in Atlanta.
They got a base
as a
in
recruiter.
Atlanta?
No,
as a recruiter.
Yeah.
But where else was you stationed? You go to boot camp
in
my best, Great Lakes?
Great Lakes. So my best place was Jerusalem as far as touring. I was stationed in Iraq. That was crazy.
On a base or on a ship?
On a base. It's called Camp Victory. Real small.
I don't know Camp Victory.
Yeah, they just took over Saddam Palace.
Oh, really? I heard that was crazy, though.
It's crazy.
I heard those palaces was nuts.
No, it was crazy. So if you wasn't doing comedy, what would you be doing?
I don't want to think about it. I don't know. I'd probably be a gym teacher, honestly. When I look about it, probably a phys ed teacher.
Why is that?
I don't know, because it's not this, every day's different, and I wouldn't want to, I'd still want to be like performing or talking to people, but I definitely couldn't do the cubicle thing or the regular 9 to 5. So who knows? I don't even want to think about it. I know it sounds crazy, but I always knew it's going to be a stand-up. Like there's literally girls that'll tell you that I grew up with. I used to tell them, I'm gonna be a stand-up. You should probably go out with me. Like literally.
Right.
There was one night, I remember one night, it was either my summer going into my senior year or I just graduated high school. We had our high school quarterback was pretty good. And this girl said, I remember she was like, Vince, when you go to the NFL and you're all big and famous, you gonna forget about us? And I literally went, why are you asking him? I'm gonna be big and famous.
Like, I'm the guy you should be looking at. Yeah.
I know it sounds cocky, but I ran away a couple times growing up, but one time I ran away, my buddy, I'll never forget it, named Derek Callahan, we got in his car, and I'm, you teenager, I'm mad at the world. I'm like, that's it, man, I'm just gonna go to LA, I'll make it, I'm funny.
Right.
We stopped at Kroger, and I got a loaf of bread and the Goober Grape with the peanut butter and jelly mixed. Yeah. And I said, I had my little backpack. I go, okay. I said, I can just get water out of the drinking fountain. I'll get a thermos. I go, I'll just eat the peanut butter and jelly on the bus ride to LA. We go down to Greyhound station, and we didn't have enough money. They said you can get to about Louisville. And plus, I wasn't 18, so they was like, where's your parents? So we didn't think it out properly. But literally, we drove down the bus station downtown Cincinnati, and I remember we went in together. We didn't know what was going on. But I remember telling him, I'll go to LA, I'll make it, dude. I'm funny enough, I'll make it.
Right. So with everything going on with the social media and everything today, do you think that it's easier for comedians now to make it from being on social media than it was before?
I think we're in an age where more so than ever, comics can kind of create their own narrative. Because when I started, you were really at the mercy of network execs and movie producers to put you in stuff. You could be funny as heck and you could tour all the time, but people couldn't access you unless you was on TV. Now, whether it's these young cats doing sketches or just giving their commentary on what's going on, you can kind of create your own fan base.
Right. You got the Country Wayne.
And Desi Banks. And Jess Hilarious. And all those guys, they've created their own lane where they didn't really need, because they're selling tickets at comedy clubs now. Right. And I'm not one to, and then you got podcasts. I mean, look at someone like Joe Rogan or the 85 South guys. Yep. You know what I mean?
DC Young.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Joe Rogan should be an inspiration to everybody. Because that's a guy that, he was on TV, he was doing all right, but he was cool. But then his podcast, and he just signed the big $100 million deal with Spotify. Right. He didn't get that from his stand-up. That was all from his podcast. Right. So there's so many other outlets. And I'm more of a guy, like, I look at what people are doing, I'm like, okay, how can I tap into what they're doing without taking what they're doing? But I was like, how can I, like a podcast? I always thought a podcast, like, I ain't doing a podcast. I love doing my podcast now. And it's a new fan base. And what I wanted when I started my podcast was I wanted a lot of stand-ups on there, the up-and-comers and the vets. And I think I've built enough rapport in my relationships with people. Nobody's really said no. They're all coming on. That I just wanted a place for us to chop it up, feel comfortable. But my goal is, one, to introduce people to stand-ups that they might not know, or the stand-ups that they know, give behind the curtain, like, this is what they're really like, and they struggle too, and they go through stuff, so.
Got it. So who's your favorite up-and-coming comedian?
Ryan Davis.
Ryan Davis. Okay, okay, great.
I like Ryan a lot. I don't watch a lot of stand-up because I'm doing it so much, but I put him on my New Year's Eve show a couple years ago. I do Dallas every year, New Year's Eve, but I just sat on the side of the stage and watched him, and I was like, oh, anybody can talk about sex. Right. You know what I mean? Right. It's almost like when Chappelle did the 846. Oh, yeah. He literally, am I allowed to cuss on this or no?
You can say what you want.
Well, I don't know. But he goes, remember he was getting all deep about George Floyd, and he goes, I got some dick pussy jokes. You know what I mean? Even Dave knows, like, that's the easy laughs. Right. But when I was watching Ryan on the side of the stage, I go, wow, he was really, like, talking about something. I was like, oh, okay. So I think he's, like, my favorite. And that's no disrespect to the other up-and-comers, but if you tell me who I think has, like, really good content in his jokes, it's not even about the laughs. Because you could put on a song and dance to it, and I used to do that too when I was younger, and get great laughs from it. But that doesn't translate to TV, and you're really not saying anything. But I was watching Trevor Noah do an interview with Howard Stern the other day, and he said it. He did the Radio City run with Dave Chappelle, and he didn't know why he was on it. And he pulled Dave aside. He goes, man, why you got me on this show, man? You didn't need me.
Right.
He goes, nah. He goes, anybody can be funny. He said, you're interesting. And I was like, yeah. So I think that's why I find Ryan Davis, when you say funny, a lot of people are funny.
Right.
I just find him interesting.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. So who's your inspiration?
For stand-up?
Yeah, as far as stand-up go.
I don't know if I have an inspiration, but I will say, like, when Def Comedy Jam came out, and I watched it for the first time, everybody on that show, from Bernie to Dave to Martin to Steve Harvey to Bill Bellamy, Chris, all those guys, the energy jumped off the TV screen. Like, a lot of times you watch, like, Ain't It the Improv or even some HBO specials, you just when I'm talking about when I was growing up, I just found myself just kind of watching it. But the first time I saw Def Jam, I said, this is a freaking party. And you could feel the crowd going nuts and slapping each other. And I was like, yo. And I remember thinking, that's the reaction I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say Def Jam was the one that really, like, lit the fire. I was like, oh, of course Eddie Murphy with Raw and Delirious, but Eddie, and like Richard Pryor was a little bit before my time. Eddie was more when I was a kid, it was all about Eddie Murphy. So what are you working on now? Do you have anything new coming out?
Well, we was in the middle of doing a movie till COVID hit.
Oh, man.
And then it was funny, we were in Oklahoma City, we're shooting this movie. Right. It hit, then we came back in August to finish the movie, and our lead actress is 77 years old, and she's not ready to work yet. So literally we're waiting on her to finish these next couple scenes, and then that's it. And then I just had a movie come out in September on Netflix with Michael Jai White called Welcome to Sudden Death. So that just came out. So, you know, we were supposed to film my special, COVID hit, so now we're waiting until theaters open up. So, you know, the good thing is I can always work. I always got my podcast, so I'm always staying busy.
I know on your show, you work a lot with your family. So how is it, you know, working with your family?
On the reality show?
Yeah.
The reality show it was great and it kind of sucked because we did it and we had decent numbers because we were following Real Husbands of Hollywood. So I was like, oh, this is great. Because, you know, I don't know how BET is now, but when we did the reality show, BET only had 2 nights of original programming, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right.
Other than that, it's all reruns of Martin or stuff like that. But Viacom came in and just overhauled the whole network. And we got caught up in that. And they just basically wiped out every show. And it just sucked that we only got through season 1 because if you go off numbers, like viewership, I was like, okay, we were holding the audience.
Right.
So in a normal circumstance, we definitely would have got season 2. But the one good thing about it is through Instagram and me being a producer and owning a lot of it, I'm able to repost it on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So now there's a whole set of people that never watched it when it aired. They're seeing it now. Right. So that's what's cool.
Last question. If you had any advice to give to a young comedian, what would you tell them?
Be on time and do your time. And what I mean by that is, the show's at 7, get there early. let them know you're excited to be there, whoever you're working with. And do your time. So if you're supposed to do 20, do 20. Do 20. Don't go over. Because as a headliner, we're very much into our routine. You don't want that broken. You know, you got so if you got a guy up there and he's doing 20 and all of a sudden he's doing 30, 35, you're like, why are you doing that? Just stick to your time. I never tell, when guys open up for me, I never tell them what to talk about because I got enough. So I'm just like, just do your time. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about.
You want to talk about what's current though, right?
You can do whatever you want. You might be going through something with your kids or your family. I don't know. Whatever you want to talk about, that's you.
Have you ever been booed? Like, would you?
I got gonged. I've never been booed.
Okay.
I got gonged. So first time I went to LA, it was a place called The Rage. It's still there. It's a gay club in LA, and I did not know it was a gay club until I got there. So what it was, I'm in San Diego. I'm stationed in San Diego. I'm calling all these clubs in LA. You got open mic. You got open mic. Open mic. One club goes, yo, we have a variety show on Tuesday nights. I didn't know what a variety show was. Sign up at 4. So I drove to LA. Signed up at 4. They said, come back at 9. We'll tell you if you're on the show. Came back at 9. They said, you're the 9th of 10 acts tonight. Show starts at 10.
So I just stayed there, and I was like, "There's a lot of dudes here." The dude just kept coming in. I was like, "What?" So you got to realize, everyone was singing. Right. And I got up there as a stand-up, and they're like, they wasn't trying to hear no stand-up.
I'm trying to hear.
Man, these two dudes came out with the red balls in their mouth from Pulp Fiction, like the Ving Rhames stuff.
Right.
They pulled this drag queen out, and the guy dressed in drag, they pulled him out on like some chariot looking thing, and he had a gong, and then he gonged me, and the crowd would freaking nuts. Yeah, I was like this. I remember leaving there so defeated, like, LA's different. But when I left there that night, there was a girl, she's a comedian, her name's Dee Dee Rainbow.
Okay.
She came up to me as I'm waiting for my car to get pulled up, and she goes, "Yo, you're funny. I can tell you're funny." She goes, "That just wasn't the right audience. That's not the right audience for stand-up."
Right.
She gave me her card. That's when people had cards.
Right.
She gave me her card and said, "Call me. I got a few spots in LA. You can get up." I said, "Well, I don't live in LA. I live in San Diego, so just let me know." But that little contact, she kind of got me into a couple comedy spots in LA. I'll never forget. Dee Dee Rainbow was her name, man. Never forget it.
Thank you, man. I enjoyed you. Gary Owens, everybody.
Thanks, man.